Minister Mendicino is making an announcement about Canadians living in Hong Kong.
We are taking an all hands on deck approach in our hospitals and long-term care homes so that Canadians can get the health care and the treatment they need. This is where immigration has proven to be a lifeline. More than a third of our family doctors, nurses, and pharmacists have come from abroad and are already contributing on the front lines. As our healthcare workers fight the second wave, our government is ensuring that we have the people we need for a second shift. That's exactly what our plan will deliver. Whether it's in health, the trades, or increasingly in the tech sector, hardworking newcomers are rolling up their sleeves and contributing in the fight against COVID-19. Over the course of Canada's history, immigration has not only grown our population, it has also helped to create jobs. 1 in 3 businesses with employees in Canada is owned by an immigrant. In turn, these entrepreneurs employ over 250,000 people across the country. As we look to recover and build a prosperous future, we will continue to look for highly skilled people from around the world. And that includes places like Hong Kong. Alors que nous nous tournons vers la relance économique et l'attraction de la main-d'œuvre dont le Canada a besoin.
While we keep working towards a relaunch of the economy, we will continue to seek out highly skilled individuals from throughout the world. And we will be looking at areas such as Hong Kong.
The ties that bind Canada and Hong Kong run deep. The first Hong Kongers arrived on our shores over 150 years ago to build a better life for themselves. As early as the 1880s, steamships plied the Pacific between Vancouver and Hong Kong, bringing people and goods from one continent to another. In the Second World War, Canadians bravely defended Hong Kong, and over 500 paid the ultimate sacrifice. And through the second half of the 20th century, thousands of Hong Kongers made Canada their home and made our country stronger. Today, hundreds of thousands of Canadians live and work in Hong Kong. Here in Canada, Hong Kongers have gone on to success in all walks of life, from business leaders to serving as our Governor General. As proud as we are of our relationship with Hong Kong, we find ourselves at a challenging moment. Canada remains deeply concerned about China's passage of the new national security law. We have unequivocally stated that this legislation and the unilateral powers within it are in direct conflict with China's international obligations and undermine the one country, two systems framework. Just yesterday, we saw 4 democratically elected representatives expelled from the Hong Kong legislature. Actions such as these demonstrate a clear disregard for the basic law and are having the consequential effect of eroding human rights in Hong Kong. In this time of trial, Canada will stand in solidarity with the people of Hong Kong. Le Canada est grandement préoccupé par
Canada is deeply concerned about the new national security law now applied in Hong Kong and the rights of individuals whose conditions of human rights continue to deteriorate day by day. Canada has deep and narrow links with Hong Kong and the Hong Kong people.
In response, Canada has introduced a number of concrete measures, including the suspension of our extradition treaty, restriction of certain goods, and revision of travel advice to Hong Kong. And as my colleague, Minister Champagne, has said, we will continue to watch the situation closely. As daily life for Hong Kongers continues to unfold under a cloud of uncertainty, we have a unique opportunity to appeal to the hopes and aspirations of those who may well be casting their eyes abroad and looking at Canada as a place to live, work, and settle as generations had before them. Which brings me to the reason why we are here. Today, I'm pleased to announce that we are creating new and expedited immigration pathways for those living in Hong Kong to come to Canada. This initiative will focus on 3 areas. First, we will seek to attract and retain recent Hong Kong graduates and workers with much-needed skills for our economy. Second, we will promote, prioritize, and support existing immigration routes for family members, students, and workers. And third, we will introduce several targeted measures to enhance the protections offered by our asylum system. Today's announcement falls within our New Levels plan, which is aimed at attracting the best and the brightest from around the world. Aujourd'hui, j'annonce un certain nombre de mesures qui permettront...
Today, I shall announce a number of measures which will make it more easy for Hong Kong residents to arrive in Canada, either as students or for permanent residency.
To attract Hong Kongers from abroad, we are going to expedite the processing of work permits for those with recent graduate experience who wish to come to Canada to work or continue their studies. This stream will allow recent Hong Kong graduates to apply for an expedited open work permit valid up to 3 years. To be eligible, Hong Kongers must have graduated from a recognized Canadian or overseas post-secondary learning institution in the last 5 years. If approved, their spouse or partner, as well as children, will also be eligible to apply for a study or work permit. We have already seen an increase in applications under the International Student Program from Hong Kong and will continue welcoming these bright students to our colleges and universities. But we don't just want them to work or study here temporarily. We also want them to consider staying. That's why we will also create 2 new permanent resident pathways under this initiative. The first stream will apply to Hong Kong residents who are in Canada and who have graduated with a degree from a recognized Canadian learning institution in the last 3 years and who have completed at least 50% of their courses in Canada. The second stream will apply to Hong Kong residents who are in Canada and who have graduated with a degree from a Canadian learning institution or a recognized post-secondary learning institution from abroad in the last 5 years, and who also possess 1 year of full-time work experience in Canada within the last 3 years. Once eligible under the open 3-year work permit, Hong Kongers may then qualify under Stream 1 or 2 or existing PR programs. Other language and admissibility requirements will also apply. Once eligibility requirements are met, these recent graduates can then directly apply for permanent residence. We plan to welcome the first recent Hong Kong graduates under this program in early 2021. In addition, we will also continue our efforts to attract young and skilled Hong Kongers by promoting and prioritizing existing programs, including the International Student Program, which was revived on October 20th, 2020, the International Experience Program, and the Canada-Hong Kong Youth Mobility Agreement, as well as our Economic Permanent Residency Program. Let me say a few words about a number of other measures which are also part of today's announcement. Canada has a robust asylum system that is internationally recognized for defending human rights and offering safe harbor to the world's most vulnerable. And this is thanks in large part to the generosity and compassion of the Canadian people. As we continue to monitor developments abroad, we are aligning our policies in 2 areas. First, we are waiving the usual 1-year waiting period so that failed asylum claimants from Hong Kong may access faster pre-removal risk assessments. This means that some who were previously ineligible may now qualify for another assessment and another chance to stay in Canada. And second, no one will be prohibited from claiming asylum or applying to any other immigration program in Canada solely by virtue of having been charged under China's national security law. Let me be clear. Foreign nationals will be permitted to seek asylum in Canada as long as they have not committed any crime that would be recognized under Canadian law. The measures we've announced today build on our immigration plan, which is focused on our economy, jobs, and growth. This initiative will create new opportunities, strengthen ties, and build new and lasting bridges between Canada and the people of Hong Kong. They complement our government's previous measures, as well as the efforts of our allies around the world. Many from Hong Kong have and will continue to look to Canada as a place of hope and opportunity. Les mesures que nous avons annoncées aujourd'hui s'ajoutent à
The measures that we've added today only complement the measures already taken, which is best regarded by the entire world. Many foreigners turn to Canada as a symbol of hope and opportunity. The Prime Minister has committed to provide a pan-government response to the Chinese position on Hong Kong security law, following the promises that we've made this summer.
The people of Canada and Hong Kong are close friends, and friends look out for one another. We have a special opportunity to welcome Hong Kongers, who will once again help to build our country going forward. Today's announcement is the first step towards realizing that opportunity. Thank you. Merci.
Thank you, Minister. We'll now begin the immediate Q&A portion of the event. As usual, one question, one follow-up. State your outline, who you're with. We're going to start with the phone. So, operator, could you please have the first question from the phone?
Certainly. Thank you. Please press star one at this time if you have a question. Veuillez appuyer sur l'étoile 1 pour toute question. Notre première question est de Boris Proulx du Devoir. À vous la parole. Please go ahead.
Oui, bonjour.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm going to ask my question in French, if you don't mind. I'd like to know whether the Chinese ambassador to Canada has already warned Canada on the welcome to new Hong Kong people in Canada. If China gets upset, is Canada ready to respond?
Well, I will reiterate what the Prime Minister said, and that those comments by the Chinese ambassador were unacceptable. Today's announcement is focused on attracting the best and the brightest young Hong Kong recent graduates to contribute towards the urgent economic needs which exist today in Canada. It is in line with the immigration plan, which I announced a little less than 2 weeks ago, and it's aimed at strengthening the people-to-people ties between Canada and Hong Kong, at creating and expanding opportunities for those Hong Kongers who may wish to build a better life here in Canada, and about building long and lasting bridges.
And second, how many of the 100,000 of Hong Kongers, of Canadians living in Hong Kong, do you plan to attract with this measure? And aren't you afraid that they later on in Canada receive threats from the Chinese government?
We continue to watch the situation with grave concern in Hong Kong. And as I said in my remarks, today's announcement is set against that backdrop. But what we hope is achieved by today's announcement is that those young Hong Kongers will see an opportunity in this initiative. Those Hong Kongers who are hoping to find a job, continue their studies, ply their trade, use their experience to help in our economic recovery, as well as driving our long-term prosperity. It's about strengthening the people-to-people ties between the people of Canada and Hong Kong, which have existed for many, many years, and which through this policy, we hope we will continue to strengthen going forward.
Merci beaucoup. Opérateur, prochaine question.
Merci. Our next question is from Ryan Tumulty from the National Post. Please go ahead. À vous la parole.
Yeah, good morning, sir. I understand, I should say, your programs today seem to be targeted largely at younger people. I'm wondering if you're, in essence, trying to fill in the gaps for people in Hong Kong who do not have the British National Overseas designation that might allow older people to leave Hong Kong but wouldn't allow younger people to do so.
Well, certainly we are endeavoring to meet the urgent labor gaps which exist here in Canada. And nowhere is that being felt more acutely than on the front lines of our healthcare system and long-term retirement homes. And as I mentioned during my remarks, we already have 1 in 3 healthcare workers who have come from abroad. And by creating and launching these new immigration routes today, we are expanding on those opportunities. We're expanding on them by ensuring that there is a way in which they can come to Canada through a flexible open work program, and then allowing them to transition to stay in Canada to become permanent residents. This will meet some of those needs in our healthcare sector. And as we fight a second wave, we want to be sure that we are leveraging immigration to provide the necessary reinforcements so that Canadians can get access to the healthcare, the support, and the treatment that they need.
Question?
Okay, sir. And just to follow up, sir, how do you plan about marketing this program in Hong Kong, given some of the restrictions on media there?
Well, as I said, we do plan to embark upon a promotional campaign, but we will also continue to ensure that here in Canada, as there may well be a number of Hong Kong residents who are already here, either studying or working, who are eligible under one of the 2 streams that I mentioned to apply for permanent residency. And in that respect, they may be well positioned to become integrated into our economy so that they can contribute in our response to COVID-19, as well as meeting the long-term demographic challenges and prosperity challenges which we face. And that's why I say that today's announcement is very much in line with the bold immigration plan that I announced just a little less than 2 weeks ago.
Have our final question from the phone, operator?
Certainly. Our next question is from Stephen Chase from the Globe and Mail. Please go ahead. À vous la parole.
Hello, Minister. I have a question about things that might hinder applicants from coming to Canada. You mentioned the national security law, which was only introduced in late June, and you said that applicants would not be hindered in their application if they had been charged under that law. Only a few dozen people have been charged under that law, but many thousands of people, thousands and thousands and thousands, were charged in connection with the protests, which began a year earlier and continued, for much of the last year. These people face what are called rioting charges. That's the antiquated term for protests. And that is also something that would hinder them from coming to Canada. Will charges for the protests that began in June 2019 be a hindrance for people to gain access to Canada?
Well, thank you for the question, Steve. And I just want to underline again that no one will be disqualified from making a legitimate asylum claim in Canada by sole virtue of having been charged under the new national security law, and nor will they be in any way hindered from availing themselves under any other immigration route by virtue alone of having been charged under national security law. As I also made clear during my remarks, Steve, I was very clear in saying that no foreign national, whether from Hong Kong or anywhere else, will be disqualified from pursuing a legitimate asylum claim or any other immigration route if they have not committed any crime that would be recognized under Canadian law.